Hello, welcome to the channel. Autocar, writing about cars, talking about them, reviewing them, bringing news on them every week since 1895. We had our 130th anniversary just a few weeks ago. Welcome to the inside of a Vauxhall, Opel if you live overseas, Mokka GSE, which is the hot performance variant, and there is a certain amount of sort of old school stuff to this car in that it is the hot version of an ordinary family hatchback crossover, if you like. I'm sure there are some experts and analysts who would call it an SUV. It's not really, is it? It's a tall family hatchback. But a bit like the olden days when manufacturers would just turn up a performance version and sell it at the top of the range, might be a hot hatchback. And Vauxhall has a bit of a history of those. They've done the same here. So I think what I better do is just go to a little bit of voiceover to bring you all of the technical details that they have changed on this car, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you about it.
Okay, let's run you through the technical details of this sporty Mokka. The suspension is 10mm lower than standard and spring rates are up 49% front, 35% rear, and there's a Torsen mechanical locking front differential with 36% acceleration lockup and 34% under braking. There's a new 30.8mm rear anti-roll bar which increases rear roll stiffness by 189%. Overall, roll stiffness is up by 48%. There's a new knuckle on the McPherson strut front suspension which lets the new 20-inch wheels clear and give the same turning circle as before, but there's a new steering rack too with a faster ratio. That is 14.5 to 1, increased from 16.2 to 1. There are 380mm front and 268mm rear discs, and in sport mode there's no regenerative braking. Also, the battery is 54 kilowatt hours, can charge at 100 kilowatts, and the car's priced at £35,495, including the electric car grant.
So to go with the stuff on the outside, on the inside I've got a steering wheel which has been flattened top and bottom, which is a bit silly, but it's quite a nice thin rim. It's not too unround. There's a little bit of contrast stitching on it. Likewise in these seats, which are Alcantara bolstered, which I like very much as a material. I think it's comfortable, I think it grips you well, but it keeps the right temperature. And these are fine, they are keeping me in place as I go around these corners, but I still think if you were of fuller figure, you'd still fit in them. And there's a bit of Alcantara on the door cards. It kind of follows the old school performance version playbook, really. You know, it's got sort of shiny pedals and some contrast stitching, but it doesn't go wild by any means. It could probably go a bit wilder than this because it's very Mokka-ish. Driving position's pretty good. I'm quite high. I don't sit low. I could go a little lower than this, but it's not a sit on the floor racy type driving position. And ergonomically it's fine. It's got physical buttons for some things, which is great. Stellantis, Vauxhall's owner, has got a bit of a thing about not putting absolutely everything on touchscreens, which is a good thing. Oh, there's a turn there. Let's put it this way, if you buy an electric Vauxhall in the UK, they give you the equivalent of £500 worth of Tesco Club Card points. If you live outside the UK, just pick your everyday supermarket of choice, the biggest supermarket in the country. Now, you may live somewhere where supermarkets don't have the same amount of power as they do in the UK, which I think is to the UK's detriment, but that's another story. It's that sort of thing. You have a very normal life. You live in a semi-detached house in a suburban estate somewhere, and you have a Vauxhall Mokka on the drive. It is a straightforward, family-oriented sort of car, the Mokka, and the hot hatchback hasn't traditionally been that sort of thing. So to find a performance version of, which is called the performance version, you know, the GSE would have been GSI in the past, or SRI, or GTE, or VXR, or GTC, or one of the other three-letter acronyms that Vauxhall Opel has used. They usually would have applied it to a hatchback, a low hatchback, rather than a car like this. For those crossover owners who do buy a GSE, either by mistake because they just think it's the most expensive and therefore the most well-equipped one, or those who actually set out to find a Mokka with good suspension, this car has really good suspension. So I'm at a really twisty, good bit of road here, and body control is really tight. It's allowed a little bit of lean, as you can probably see, but it controls that really well. It's got lots of grip. There is a bit of dive, there is a bit of roll, and as I accelerate, there is a little bit of sort of pitch upwards, and that comes with, like, the steering's nice most of the time. Okay, but what it does as you accelerate, and that differential hooks up at the front, you feel it through the steering. It has some torque steer. So it's got this new knuckle on the front suspension. That is not like the old Hyper Strut, which you may remember from Astra VXR/GTC, which was there to reduce the distance between the wheel centre and the roll centre and reduce torque steer. This isn't one of those. But while most EVs, most modern cars, just take you further and further away, they have nice steering, they have pleasant steering, but they don't think that corrupted steering is a good thing. This allows torque steer back through, and there is quite a lot of torque and quite a lot of power. So it does nibble at the wheel as you go in a really, really, actually very pleasing fashion. Brake feel is good. So I now have it in sport mode. And if you have it in normal or eco, when you put your foot on the brakes, first of all, it does some regen through the motors, and then as you get firmer on the brakes, it brings the discs into play, these big 380mm ventilated front discs here. But the blending of those two is a real sort of tuner's thing that's not easy to get right. So some manufacturers, like Lotus with the Avaya hypercar, for example, it's like, we just do all the braking, they just work on the brakes, there's no regen. When you put this into sport, that's what this car does as well. So you just have a really balanced, pleasant, firm brake pedal. What I can't tell you is whether as you lift off or you trail a brake into a corner, which works really well actually at getting the nose tucked in, then you come back on the power and it just pulls it nice and straight again. What I can't tell you is whether with a bung on the way in, it unsettles the rear in a way that the best sort of old school hot hatchbacks do. You get a bit of extra weight on the front, that unloads the rear a bit, they lose a bit of grip, and the whole thing sort of straightens itself, and it's a lovely way to drive an old-fashioned, old school, doesn't have to be old-fashioned, but an old school hot hatchback. The best Renault Sports did it, Peugeot 205, and that did it. Volkswagen-wise, the GTI Club Sport kind of did it. Golf GTI Club Sport, the later ones did it. We'll need a bit of track action really to be able to give this a proper bung and find out. But fortunately, I have that opportunity. Welcome to the Mokka on a racetrack. It's the Harama circuit.
Now to the left.
I've got to follow that person who you cannot see but you can hear.
And then smoothly to the interior and then exit.
It's rained a little bit overnight, so it's still a tiny bit greasy as it's drying out, which is a shame because what I really want to do is just give this car a proper bung and see what it will do. It does generate still quite a lot of grip. You can feel that torque steer as you accelerate out. The diff hooks up and it tugs at the steering wheel quite a lot actually. It's quite agile. I think this car has got, and I don't know whether everybody agrees with me elsewhere, there's quite a lot of colleagues here, the steering's really cool the way it tugs around, it's really very good. I don't know if everybody here totally agrees with me. I think this car's got a genuinely, seriously good chassis. There is a sort of stability to it, it seems. I think that it's more like something like a Golf Club Sport, even a sort of GI Yaris. Doesn't have the four-wheel drive traction of that, of course, but it's got that level of composure. I think this is really good. Doesn't have anything like four-wheel drive levels of traction, of course, but it's not moving around in a way like an old Renault Sport Clio or a Fiesta ST when you sort of give it the bung on the way in or brake mid-corner. Oh, there you go, just ever so slightly started to move around mid-corner. But I had to kind of turn and then mid-corner give it an extra lift and brake to just try and get the whole thing engaged. But this is good, you know. This is a good car. this is a good car. Why they would launch a new performance sub-brand, relaunch if you like, a new performance brand with a Mokka, which is not a car known for being bought by drivers who appreciate the finer dynamic elements of life. I don't know, but I'm hanging on for a Corsa next. A Corsa GSE, right, that's attractive on a finance plan for younger drivers, that's available in like bold colours, white, yellow, red, blue. I think Peugeot 106 Rally, Citroen Saxo, just something a bit exciting. With great seats, a great steering wheel, and dynamics that are like this, but the car's a bit lighter, a bit lower. I genuinely think that would be a proper winner. Meantime, this will go down like the Zafira VXR, something like that. One of those slightly forgotten performance cars that you might see on Auto Trader in 20 years' time and go, oh my goodness, I remember those. I like it. I like it. So help me, I like it.
Now we are going to cool down a little bit.
So thanks for joining me. We are here weekly with car reviews, car news, motor shows, and more besides. And when the next GSE comes along, we'll be there for it too. I hope it's a Corsa. Be really good. Be really good. It'd be nice if the proper old school hot hatch, affordable for young drivers was back. Kind of is with the Alpine A290, but it would be just nice to have more of them, wouldn't it, really? And this car, I think dynamically, this car has got something about it that if you just dropped a bit of height and lost a bit of weight, could be a really special thing. See you next time.